Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a wild story. It's about ambition, family, and a fierce battle over what's even real. It's this incredible saga, all documented as it happened, centered on one man, his grand vision, and a conspiracy he claims was built to bring it all crashing down. We're going to break down his side of the story piece by piece.
So, this quote really gets you inside the head of Ahmad, who's at the center of all this. It tells you everything, right? He's not seeing this as some sad family tragedy. For him, this whole thing is a high-stakes game. And as he says, the level is high, but he has to win. And believe me, as we're about to see, the stakes are absolutely massive.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Who is this guy, Ahmad? Well, according to the story he tells, he's a visionary architect. And he has this enormous, almost unbelievable plan for his family. And we're talking a big family, 10 siblings, all brought up in a small, remote village.
So what kicked all this off? A really bad car accident back in 2016. Something that would stop most people in their tracks. But for Ahmad, it was the opposite. It was fuel. He decided right then to completely transform his family's future. And this wasn't just about, getting them out of their village. No, this was about creating a global dynasty, moving his brothers and sisters to major cities, we're talking Paris, Berlin, Milan, to give them every opportunity to study and succeed.
And he didn't just have a vague idea. He had a very specific, very bold goal. He called it the 1 + 1 = 11 million challenge. The ambition here is just, wow. The idea was for each of his 10 siblings, plus himself, that's 11 people, to each be worth $1 million. The deadline, the year 2030. That was it. That was the tangible goal for his mission.
Now, this is fascinating. At the core of his whole project was this unique philosophy, and he even built it right into his company's logo. So it all starts with the Arabic word for ignorance, which is jahal. Ahmad saw that middle letter as a symbol for a kind of psychological knot, a mental block that holds you back. His big idea was, what if you just remove that knot? Well, if you do, you're left with the word hal, which means solution. Ignorance becomes solution. That was his whole philosophy in a nutshell. Untie the knots to find the answer.
Okay, so on one hand, you've got Ahmad building this incredible dream. But at the very same time, a totally different story about him started to spread. And according to Ahmad, this counter-narrative was coming from the people he trusted most. And look, this wasn't just a simple disagreement. It got dark, fast. According to recordings Ahmad has, his own business partner, a guy named Ali Jawash, actually went to Ahmad's father and said this. Just imagine hearing that, an accusation that the family was just waiting around for him to die.
And it didn't stop there. The language allegedly got even more extreme and violent. Ahmad's sources claim that same partner was recorded telling one of his brothers to literally break down the door, tie him up, and gag him. These are alleged instructions on how to physically overpower and restrain him. So what you end up with are these two completely opposite realities that just cannot exist at the same time. On one side, you have Ahmad's view of himself, a visionary leader, an open book, just trying to help his family. But on the other side, the story being told about him was that he was mentally ill, a total fraud, a megalomaniac, even a drug addict. He claims these weren't just insults. They were weapons, labels designed to completely destroy his credibility and take his company away.
Now, this is where the story takes a massive twist. Normally, this would just be a messy he said, she said situation. Impossible to untangle. But there's a catch. A huge one. Ahmad was recording everything. I mean it. He recorded everything. Phone calls, meetings, arguments. For 2 whole years, he documented his life. And his reason, which he lays out right here, is pretty chillingly logical. He basically says, the situation is becoming so extreme. If I don't record it, no one will believe it later. He knew things were getting so wild that his story would just sound unbelievable without proof.
So he didn't call this a diary. He called it a social experiment. He wasn't just trying to capture highlights for a success story. He was creating a real-time record of what he saw as his entire reality collapsing. For him, these reportings were more than just evidence. They were his only shield. An objective log that he hoped could slice right through all the rumors and show what was actually happening.
So now, with this mountain of evidence, 2 years of audio and video, Ahmad began to put the puzzle together. And the picture that emerged, he claims, was of a deliberate, carefully planned conspiracy to kick him out of his own life's work.
Let's look at the timeline he lays out. It supposedly kicks off in November 2022 with a big family confrontation, where his siblings tell him they're done. Then, just a few weeks later, on December 5th, what he calls the betrayal meeting happens. This is where he alleges his partners met with his brothers to figure out how to take over the company. And then, check this out. Fast forward exactly 2 years to the day, December 5th, 2024. That's when Ahmad makes his move and starts sending the video proof to the very people he says conspired against him.
So in Ahmad's version of events, there are 3 alleged masterminds. You've got his business partners, Ali Jawash, accused of turning the family against him, and Hagop Dansigian, accused of engineering the company takeover. But then there's a third person, and this is really shocking. A psychiatrist, Dr. Wael Salameh. Ahmad claims this doctor intentionally gave him a false diagnosis to make the mentally unstable story stick.
And of course, we have to talk about the money, because right in the middle of all this chaos, $500,000 just goes missing. The official explanation that was given? That they used it to fund a search for a lost Ahmad. But Ahmad says that's total nonsense. He calls it a cover story for straight-up theft, just another piece of the bigger puzzle to remove him.
So that brings us to today. Where does all this stand now? Well, this fight is nowhere near over. In fact, you could say it's just entering its most public phase yet.
The dynamic has completely flipped. Ahmad isn't just on the defense anymore. He says he's now got his massive archive of recordings, plus the support of other medical experts who refute that original diagnosis. So he's going on the attack. He's ready to bring what he calls his undeniable proof out into the open for the world to see.
And he's not just talking. He has a clear 3-step plan for what he calls justice. First, analyze every minute of those 2 years of recordings. Second, write out the entire story connecting all the dots. And third, the final step, expose it all. Create a film or a documentary series using the actual recordings, the real voices, the real conversations. He's very clear that for him, this isn't about revenge, it's about truth.
So, you might be wondering, how realistic is this plan? Well, this gives you a sense of the support he claims he's gathered, and it's really important to stress this is based on his assertions. He says he's got interest from big names like Netflix for a series. He claims he has international partners providing financial backing. And crucially, he says he has other medical experts ready to validate his side of the story. If true, that's some serious momentum.
And all this leaves us with this huge, lingering question. When you have a war like this, a war over family, money, and even philosophy, who gets to write the ending? When one person's grand vision is another person's dangerous delusion, how do you ever decide what the truth is? We've laid out the narrative as it's been presented, but what the final chapter of this family's war for truth will be, that is still very much unwritten.